Okay, quick question. When you want to send money to someone, what do? You open your phone, you tap a few things, money moves. That's it. Now, when did that become normal? If you said somewhere around 2014, when Apple Pay launched, when contactless payments started appearing in shops, you're giving the right answer for the wrong continent. Because on this continent, we figured that out in 2007. 7 years before Apple Pay, 4 years before the iPhone 4 even existed. A Kenyan farmer in a rural village could send money to his daughter in Nairobi with a basic Nokia, while Silicon Valley was still trying to figure out how to make people swipe credit cards faster. Welcome to Explain It Like I'm from Uganda. I'm Tobias, and today we are talking about the most important financial innovation of the last 30 years that most of the world has never heard of. Mobile money. Africa built the future. Nobody noticed. Let's fix that. To understand why M-Pesa is such a big deal, you first have to understand what Africa looked like financially before it existed. In 2006, the year before M-Pesa launched, only 26% of adults in Kenya had a bank account. 26%. That means about 3 out of every 4 adults in Kenya had no bank account, no savings account, no way to send or receive money electronically. If you wanted to send money to your mother in the village, you had 2 options. Option 1, you give cash to someone who is traveling in that direction and hope for the best. Option 2, you use a formal money transfer service, which was expensive, slow, and only available in certain towns. That's it. Those were your options. And this wasn't just a Kenya problem. Across sub-Saharan Africa, the story was the same. Huge populations, almost no banking infrastructure, massive amounts of money sitting outside the formal financial system, moving in cash, at risk, inefficiently. Now here's what made Africa different from everywhere else facing this problem. Mobile phones. While formal banking infrastructure was almost non-existent in many parts of the continent, mobile phone penetration was growing at a pace that nobody expected. People who had never had a bank account had a phone, a cheap, basic feature phone, not a smartphone, not a device with internet access, just a phone that could make calls and send SMS messages. And that small, humble Nokia was enough to build an entirely new financial system on top of. M-Pesa launched in Kenya in March 2007. M is for mobile. Pesa is Swahili for money. Mobile money. That's it. That's the name. No branding agency needed. The idea was simple, almost dangerously simple. You go to an M-Pesa agent, which could be a shop, a kiosk, a market stall. You give them cash, and they load that cash value onto your phone number. Your phone number becomes your bank account. From that moment, you can send money to anyone else's phone number instantly. They receive an SMS. They go to their nearest agent and collect the cash. The whole thing costs a fraction of what a bank transfer costs. That's it. That's the whole system. No bank account, no credit history, no minimum balance, no forms, no waiting 5 business days, just a phone and a 4-digit PIN. Now, you might be thinking, that sounds straightforward. How did that become one of the biggest fintech stories in history? Here's how. Within 3 years of launching, M-Pesa had more customers than all of Kenya's commercial banks combined. Read that again slowly. More customers than all banks combined in 3 years. By December 2011, just 4 years in, M-Pesa had 17 million subscribers in Kenya alone. By 2024, that number had grown to over 82 million accounts. In 2024 alone, M-Pesa processed 33 billion transactions. 33 billion in 1 year, one service. And here's the number that puts it all in context. Today, more than half of Kenya's entire GDP passes through M-Pesa. More than half of the entire economic output of a country. running through a mobile phone service. That started as a way to send $20 to your mother. I want to be careful here because when people tell the M-Pesa story, they often make it sound like a simple feel-good narrative. Like, oh, look at Africa solving its own problems, how charming. That framing misses how structurally significant this actually was. What M-Pesa did was solve in 7 years, on a continent with almost no banking infrastructure, the same problem that formal financial institutions in developed countries had been trying to crack for decades. Seamless, instant, low-cost money transfer for everyone, not just people with bank accounts. Let's talk about financial inclusion because this is where the numbers get serious. In 2006, 26% of Kenyan adults had a bank account. We said that already. By 2024, financial inclusion in Kenya had risen to 84.8%, from 26% to 84.8% in less than 20 years. That is the fastest expansion of financial access in the history of any country. And almost all of it was driven by mobile money. Now I know someone is thinking, Tobias, okay, but this is just Kenya. What about the rest of the continent? Fair question. Let's talk about that. Sub-Saharan Africa now has 835 million registered mobile money accounts. That is nearly 50% of all mobile money accounts in the entire world. The region processed $2.5 billion in daily transactions in 2023. Mobile money added roughly $190 billion to Sub-Saharan Africa's GDP in 2023. And Africa has 156 mobile money services, nearly half of all mobile money services on the planet. Here is the thing that the technology press never quite understood. Africa did not adopt mobile money because it was a developing region that needed help. Africa built mobile money because necessity, when it meets ingenuity, does not wait for permission. The continent leapfrogged an entire era of financial infrastructure. It went from no banks to better than banks. It went from cash under mattresses to digital transactions at scale, while the rest of the world was still figuring out how to get people to stop using checks. Now we get to the part that actually bothers me. Apple Pay launched in October 2014. It was called, and I want to quote this correctly, a revolution in payments. There were keynote presentations, there were magazine covers, there was Tim Cook standing on a stage telling the world that they had reinvented how money moves. M-Pesa launched in March 2007, 7 years earlier, at scale, on a continent with almost no infrastructure, serving people who had never touched a bank in their lives. And it was reported, when it was reported at all, as an interesting development story, a nice thing happening in Africa, good for them, not as the most important financial technology innovation since the credit card, which is what it was. I think about this a lot, because it is not just about credit, it is about what we pay attention to, and whose solutions we take seriously. When a team in Silicon Valley builds a payments product that requires a smartphone, a credit card, a bank account, and a high-speed internet connection, it is called the future. When a team in Nairobi builds a payments product that works on a basic Nokia, requires no bank account, no credit history, and connects 82 million people to the financial system, it is called a development story. Same innovation, different continent, different narrative, and the difference in those narratives has real consequences, because innovation follows attention, and money follows innovation. When the world does not see Africa as a source of solutions, it only looks there for problems to solve. And that framing shapes where investment goes, where talent goes, where opportunity goes. M-Pesa is proof that the framing is wrong. So let's recap. In 2007, a Kenyan mobile network operator launched a money transfer service that ran on basic SMS. No smartphones, no internet, no bank account required. Within 4 years, it had more customers than all of Kenya's banks combined. By 2024, 82 million accounts, 33 billion transactions in a single year. More than half of Kenya's GDP flowing through it. Financial inclusion in Kenya went from 26% to 84.8% in under 2 decades. Sub-Saharan Africa now holds nearly half of all mobile money accounts on Earth, and mobile money added $190 billion to the region's GDP in a single year. M-Pesa launched 7 years before Apple Pay, served more people, solved a harder problem. With a simpler phone, Africa built the future. Nobody noticed. We noticed. And now you do too. That's episode 2. If this changed how you see mobile payments, send it to someone, preferably via M-Pesa. I'm Tobias. This is Explain It Like I'm from Uganda. Subscribe, share, and see you in the next episode.